Congressman Russ Fulcher of Idaho. Congressman, good morning to you. I know it was a late night last night in the House. One of the issues that you were voting on yesterday was that foreign intelligence bill, FISA, as viewers know it. Where were you on that bill, and how likely are you to see it again when the Senate takes a look at it?
Well, I opposed the bill, and the reason that I did is there was no warrant for or requirement for a warrant for surveillance on Americans. And that's been the big debate within the House on that particular issue, on the issue in general, I think. But this did pass. I think what's happened is the intelligence community has developed a system that is so broad, so sweeping, that it's very hard for them to issue warrants when they start including Americans within their sweep and within their search. They just dig in deep, and they don't want to do that. And for some of us who like privacy, we've got a problem with that. And so that's where this whole thing came down to. It is going over to the Senate. I'm hearing they're going to send that back on a 45-day review type of a situation. But that's the debate, and it did pass the House, but not with my help.
A 3-year reauthorization. Again, the Senate's going to take a look at it, and we'll follow along on C-SPAN with the back and forth. Let me come to the Farm Bill, Congressman. What do you think is going to happen with the Farm Bill? A lot of viewers very interested in that legislation.
Well, that got used as a bargaining chip last night in some of this debate that we're talking about. And my understanding is that's going to come back up again here. But here's what you got, John. You've got a $1.4 trillion bill. And about 70% of that, plus minus $1 trillion, is really for SNAP. It's a food stamp program. So you could argue, is this really a farm bill, or is this a food stamp or a SNAP bill? There's a debate there. There's also the issue of E15, ethanol 15 versus ethanol 10. Is that going to be part of this bill? Is that not going to be part of this bill? So quite frankly, until we see the final results, I don't know where I'm going to be on that. But certainly our farmers need some of the programs that are in this bill. But the problem is you've got so many other things. That's the struggle.
Why is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, food stamps, as you call them, why is it tied to these farm programs? Why has that traditionally been something that's been voted on together?
Well, because that's the only way enough votes get culminated in Congress is the answer. But the premise of your question is a very good one. Some of us think we should separate those out, have two different debates or two different issues. But the short answer is, historically, the only way that gets passed is if you combine those two to get a bipartisan support. And but it's $1.5 trillion now. John, this hasn't been passed for, I think it's 8 years. 2018, I believe, was the last one, and it was in the neighborhood of $800 billion. The other thing that happened since 2018 was COVID. And in COVID, the SNAP program, the food stamp program, really increased. And so there's another argument for some of us. Maybe we should make sure that goes back to pre-COVID levels. So there's the debate, and that's why this thing is stalled out.
And as I recall, you're a member of Congress who is pushing for a one issue at a time voting mandate for Congress. Explain what that is.
Every year, that's the first bill that I launch, and basically it says we should be dealing with one bill at a time, one issue at a time, just the germane content in that bill. Don't combine different things in the same bill. Don't have these big omnibuses, because what happens is we have to make this decision, yes or no, on a bill that's got wildly different topics within the bills. We should be debating these things one at a time, one germane topic at a time. That's the most fair and the most reasonable way to govern.
Let me come to another topic at a time. I know we have a little bit of time with you. Pete Hegseth's testimony on Capitol Hill yesterday. What did you think of that testimony? And are you concerned about this conflict running afoul of the War Powers Act as it approaches its 60-day mark? I believe tomorrow is the 60-day mark of this conflict.
Yeah, this is going to be an ongoing issue, and I just don't see how that's going to wrap up within the next couple of days. However, this is definitely, I believe, going in the right direction. By constraining the Straits of Hormuz, I think we're going to eventually just choke economically Iran into coming along with us on this agreement about no nuclear weapons. So that's the hope. As we go through all this, I'm more concerned, John, about the overall budget proposal for the military. Look, don't deny that we need it, but we also have a massive debt that we're trying to deal with. And so how we come around and listen, I want to support the president, I want to support our military, and I think that there's definitely some needs, but this massive budget, we've got to figure out a creative way to get some pay-for money and figure out how to cover that budget.
Is $1.5 trillion in fiscal 2027 too much for you?
It's a big number. That's a big number. But there's also some things we might be able to do to pay for some of that. Goes back to some of those COVID dollars. We got a lot of COVID money that's still out there. Maybe some of that needs to come back, be redirected towards military.
Two final issues for you. One, your reaction to the Supreme Court decision yesterday on the Voting Rights Act for districts.
You know, isn't it a novel idea that we don't discriminate when we draw our boundaries? You know, it's amazing to me how race gets thrown into these various arguments. Now the latest is to use race as some kind of a boundary definition point within districts. So I think the Supreme Court made a good call on that. And that issue should have been put to bed a century or two ago. It's 2026. We don't need to be using race as an issue to draw boundaries for elections.
And then finally, sir, what should viewers know about former Senator, former Governor Dirk Kempthorne, who died on Friday?
You know, he's a fabulous man and a very good friend. He was a U.S. Senator, he was a mayor, he was a governor, Secretary of the Interior, but more importantly, he was my friend and a very good man. And so the world is at a loss today as a function of him not being with us, but he left a tremendous legacy with his work while he was on this earth.
Congressman Russ Fulcher, Republican of Idaho, always appreciate you stopping by. We'll let you get to your day.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, sir.